Busiest travel season as thousands journey across provinces and borders to reunite with family or head to holiday destinations. Longer operating hours are aimed at allowing citizens to apply or collect passports, IDs, and other emergency documents needed for smooth travel. Bookings must be made in advance through the branch appointment booking system before visiting a branch.
Lastly, the United Nations has launched its annual aid appeal, drastically limiting the amount it thinks it can raise. The UN humanitarian chief Tom Fletcher said at a time when politicians were boasting about cutting aid, it had been necessary to make critical choices. Speaking at the UN headquarters in New York, Fletcher hit out at global apathy about aid. He pointed out that the UN appeal for aid is just 1% of what the world spends on arms.
What do we need in order to save 87 million lives next year? We need protection for our work, we need that energetic peacemaking, and we need $23 billion.
Now recapping on your top stories, Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi says Rwanda is already violating its commitment under a peace deal mediated by Washington, undermining efforts to end fighting in the East. Now, for any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I am Oneli Tsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
In our sports headline, Bafana Bafana World Cup opener tickets will cost the fans an arm and a leg. The FIA is Formula One governing body has issued huge fines at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. I'll be back with these and other stories at the bottom of the hour.
Business, trade, and investment opportunities that put the continent first. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni.
It is a very good afternoon to you, Senegal. Good afternoon, Ghana, Eritrea, Eswatini. Good afternoon, Egypt. Good afternoon, Africa. Welcome to Africa in Business on Channel Africa. I'm Thami Ngubeni. This is your Monday edition. On your agenda this afternoon, tensions continue between Egypt and Ethiopia regarding the Nile River. This impasse comes months after Ethiopia inaugurated Africa's largest hydro dam, which is the Grand Renaissance Dam. We'll focus on this impasse and the impact that it has on water affairs and hydropower in the region. Also on our spotlight today, if you are an FNB customer, you'll be very familiar with eBucks. Well, what FNB has done is they've revved it up a bit and decided to include and introduce eBucks for homeowners. And if you are an eBucks fan or an FNB client, make sure that you stay tuned for our FNB feature a little bit later on this afternoon to find out how you can benefit from this. That and a whole lot more, including some information coming out of the DRC and the cobalt. You'll remember that there was a months-long export ban, but a quota system was introduced in October. Some updates coming up with the mining analyst David Van Wyk.
Connecting Africa to the world. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni brings you the latest insights on Africa's economy.
We begin here this afternoon with African petroleum regulators. They've selected Nigeria as the headquarters of the newly established body and confirmed Begba Komolafe, head of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, as its chair. Komolafe, who had been serving in an acting capacity, was formally elected during the inaugural Executive Committee meeting of the African Petroleum Regulators Forum, held virtually with representatives from 16 countries in attendance. So what does Nigeria's selection as AfriPerp's headquarters reveal about its growing regional influence in Africa's oil and gas regulatory landscape? Channel Africa's economics reporter Innocent Simosa has more.
According to Benga Komolafe, head of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, the initiative lays the groundwork for a more harmonized and collaborative regulatory environment across Africa. Meanwhile, integrated energy specialist Dr. Davis Tikai says the development is a significant milestone not only for Nigeria but for the continent as a whole.
Nigeria has always aimed or has had ambitions to be a regional energy hub, and hosting AfriPEF in Abuja confirms that role and sets the stage for more harmonized regulations across the continent. So what does this mean in practice? It means African regulators can start working toward unified standards, best practices, instead of fragmented rules, and we could see a consistent regulations and coordinated oversight. This makes cross-border petroleum projects easier to manage. In the bigger picture, having AfriPEF headquartered in Nigeria creates a focal point for regulatory integration.
How might Benga Komolafe's leadership shape efforts to harmonize petroleum regulations across the 16 participating African countries? Dr. Tikai explains.
Engineer Komolafe's leadership of AfriPEF is expected to be a game changer for Africa's upstream oil and gas sector. As interim chair, now confirmed chair, he was very instrumental in creating the forum with a clear goal: attracting more investment by standardizing regulations across member countries. Under his guidance, AfriPEF focused on consistent and transparent rules in every jurisdiction. The idea is simple: a unified, investor-friendly regulatory framework will boost confidence and unlock new capital inflows. Komolofe himself highlighted that the forum offers a unique opportunity to improve investor confidence by harmonizing policies and tackling common challenges.
He also shared the impact this could have on investment flows, transparency, and the future of upstream oil development on the continent.
Massive potential and economic benefits of a coordinated petroleum regulatory framework, and member countries of AfriPEF stand to reap substantial economic benefits from a more coordinated and unified petroleum regulatory framework. Some of these advantages or benefits include increased foreign investment and growth, transparency and governance improvements, knowledge sharing and capacity building, cross-border projects and energy security, and stronger collective bargaining power, positioning not only Nigeria but the African continent as that is power hub or regional energy hub.
With Nigeria now hosting AfriPEF and providing leadership through Benga Komolafe, many believe the continent is taking a decisive step towards stronger coordination in its oil and gas sector. As stakeholders watch how this new framework unfolds, expectations are high that it will unfold greater stability, transparency, and shared growth across Africa's energy landscape. For Channel Africa News, I'm Innocent Simos in Johannesburg.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
It is exactly 12 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African Time. Ethiopia has accused Egypt of driving up tensions in its long-running dispute over the Nile River. This after the Egyptian Foreign Minister Badir Abdelati, in an interview, indicated that the negotiations between the two countries have reached a dead end and that Egypt retains the full right to defend its water rights and national interests if they are threatened. This impasse comes months after Ethiopia inaugurated Africa's largest hydro dam, the Grand Renaissance Dam, which is set to harness the power of the Nile River and provide electricity to Ethiopia and its neighbours. For more on this, we joined on the line by Gordon Kachola, the CEO of the Africa Centre for Diplomatic Affairs. A very good afternoon to you, sir. Good to have you with us on Africa in Business. Welcome. Are you with us, Mr. Kachola? All right.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, lovely. We hear you now. Welcome. So, the Egyptian Foreign Minister, Badir Abdelati, says that they've tried negotiations for more than 13 years now, and they've been trying to find common ground with Ethiopia on this matter. Why is it they cannot seem to be meeting each other? Why can they not find a common ground on the issue of the Nile River waters?
Well, you cannot go to. Well, you cannot. Thank you very much for having me on this particular hour. On matters Nile and the Nile waters, the truth is Nile is freezing. and it's not just freezing literally, it's freezing to break bonds that has always held the entire Horn of Africa region together. It is apparent that there is no kind of negotiation that will deter Ethiopia from doing what they're doing. Remember, at some point, Prime Minister Abiy of Ethiopia did mention to Parliament, actually while addressing members of Parliament, he did say that they would rather die, they would rather muscle all the troops they have to go and die in Egypt, but not to be stopped from constructing the dam. So this clearly indicates that Ethiopia is not willing to stop and cannot stop where they have reached so far. And one thing Egypt must realize that some of the Anglo-African agreements that were made back then in the 50s, in the 40s, 30s to 60s and 70s cannot actually cannot hold water today. Things have changed, and the only thing that Egypt must realize that there are more population upstream that needs this water. Demands have increased. So it is upon them to go to the negotiation table, at least saying we recognize the fact that when these agreements were made upstream, the population wasn't what it is today. Go to the negotiation table with agreements that were made in the 50s when populations in some of these upstream countries were not what they are today. Everyone will say, well, I will use what is within my territory as I wish. So it is clear that Egypt may not get what they want if they go to the negotiation table with chest stamping, saying they have a right. No, we must all get to the negotiation table acknowledging the fact that times have changed. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And on that note, Mr. Kachola, you mentioned international law and violations. The Foreign Minister, Badir Abdulati, has called the description of the Ethiopian dam illegal and illegitimate as well as unilateral. And he says that this project violates international law. What does he mean by this, and what can we read from this?
Well, within the frames of international law, the Nile water upstream needs not to be used in a manner that is likely to injure those who are downstream, more particularly the Egyptians. Because remember, Egyptians depend on this Nile water basically on everything, be it electrical, be it hydropower, be it irrigation, be it domestic. So all manner of use of water, they depend on the Nile waters. But now, to term this illegal, it can only say that at the international law level. But does really international law, is international law a law? Who enforces the international law? So again, Egypt must recognize that even the international law they are now talking about does not have enforcers. It is only implemented on a goodwill basis. So if they recognize it is implemented on a goodwill basis, therefore, it's time they begin to negotiate on the terms of nationalism. What does Ethiopia want? What does Sudan needs? And what does any other country, of all the 7 countries that share this Nile water, what do they need that in the end will benefit them and will benefit the Egyptians and will not negate what their livelihoods? I think that is the point with which they must begin to appreciate.
And why is it that they actually can't find this common ground where there is a win-win situation? Because we understand the Renaissance Dam is critical for Ethiopia's industrialization plans. But let's perhaps focus on some of the risks if regional tensions delay the power export agreements, as we're seeing now.
Well, the entire African continent, everyone is running towards industrialization. We cannot industrialize in Africa without power. And some of this, the power we need, majorly, we again want to go green. So in this green transition period, we want to ensure that whatever power we generate is power that is sustainable. Now, the reason as to why there can't be a solution to this, even in the coming days, as soon as we may wish, is because the interest in play or the interest at play are just too enormous. Remember, at some point, America had volunteered to negotiate peace between the two countries. But when you are negotiating peace, whose interest are you negotiating peace upon? Because even before immediately Egypt welcomed the idea, and then Ethiopia said, no, America is biased. They are already biased towards Egypt. So already whoever is going to negotiate this, we must coil back to Africa and look for an African-based solution. Let us not run towards east or west looking for solutions on matters that can be gotten, solutions that can be gotten directly within Africa.
On a larger scale, Mr. Kachola, how might geopolitical friction between Egypt and Ethiopia spill into trade routes, cross-border investments, or even regional infrastructure projects?
Well, the truth is, it will escalate. This tension will definitely escalate further, because you remember just the year 2024 when the year began. Is it 24 or 25? When Somaliland did make some agreement with Ethiopia, who were the first people to respond? It was Egypt. And responded how? Went straight to, they called on Somalia. Somalia went to Cairo. The Mogadishu regime went to Cairo, and they made some military agreement. Some military equipment was shipped into Mogadishu. That tells you how this tension could easily escalate. And if not taken care of, you know, I normally call the Horn of Africa a laboratory where all manner of tests are done. Today, if it is not civil war, then it is some kind of political unease or political tension within the region, or some kind of terrorism. So even this, if we are not keen, Ethiopia has just moved out of another civil tension between the Tigray and the government of Ethiopia. What are the likelihoods that we cannot go back there? They are very high if this situation is not managed properly and managed quickly.
Mr. Gordon Kachola, we'll have to leave it at that for this afternoon. We thank you very much for your insight as we deliberate on this very important issue. We thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's Mr. Gordon Kachola, the CEO of the Africa Center for Diplomatic Affairs.
9 to 12 midday Central African Time. On the Move with Palisa Tau and Benjamin Mushatama.
Now, when you go to the hospital, there's medical attention that you need, and that's the only experience you're expecting to have. If you are a transgender person, sometimes those experiences can be marred by the demand of trying to understand your gender, your sexuality, and not particularly getting the assistance that you need.
One time, I was sexually abused by someone who used to live next door to my house. So when I went to the police to report, I was in a weave, I was wearing a dress, and when I got there, the police person that helped me said to me, obviously we're gonna rape you, because why do you walk around looking like trying to be a woman when you are a man? And after that, the person just walked scot-free.
How do you deal with that? Because there's a double barrel abuse there. So it's not even double barrels, there's kind of multi-dimensional forms of abuse.
I think one thing that I will tell you about trans people is we are strong, not because we want to be strong, but because we don't have an option. It is what it is. Because the struggles that we face each and every day are like unimaginable.
Keeping you on the know and on the move. Africa means business. Tune into Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni for the future of the African economy. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It is exactly 23 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African Time. We move you from Ethiopia and Egypt to the Democratic Republic of Congo. Well, the country has replaced a months-long export ban with a quota system in October. aiming to boost state revenues and tighten oversight. According to reports, the new conditions will require miners, among other things, to prepay a 10% royalty within 48 hours and secure a compliance certificate. The circular shows that this is part of an effort by the DRC to keep a tight grip on the key battery mineral. For more on this, we joined on the line by mining analyst David van Wyk. A very good afternoon to you, David. Good to have you here with us. Perhaps let's start off with an understanding of what your take is on this quota system and the new conditions that have been put in place. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. African countries are increasingly becoming nationalistic about their minerals, which is really a good thing for the African continent. The DRC produces 70% of the world's cobalt. It has 40% of the world's reserve, by far the most, more than any other country. And cobalt is an incredibly strategically important mineral. According to the CIA, it's the most important strategic mineral on the planet. It is used in the production of batteries, but it's also used in the production of sophisticated weapon systems for missiles, for armor plating, cobalt bombs, and a whole range of other applications as far as warfare is concerned. We see all the countries in the world at the moment expanding their military spending. NATO, all the NATO countries are expanding their military spending. The United States is expanding its military spending, Russia and China as well, of course. And we see with the Ukraine war, for example, an awful lot of missiles are being used in that particular war, so an awful lot of cobalt is being shot away. I think that African countries need to begin to put their foot down to say that they will not allow their minerals to be used in conflict and warfare. They should actually put a restriction on that and say that we will only export to countries that can guarantee that the cobalt will not be used in warfare, because ultimately the warfare comes back to Africa, as in the case with Libya and oil, for example. You sell them the raw materials and the minerals, and they come and make war against you and effect regime change against you and so on. And we've seen conflict in the Congo ongoing since 1998 to 2008 onwards, the African World War, so to speak, and the privatization of the mining industry in the Congo, in the DRC, which has not really benefited the DRC at all. And at the moment, Glencore, which is a company that has been found wanting as far as corruption is concerned, has almost a monopoly on cobalt globally, which is also hugely problematic because Glencore's ethics and so on, very, very problematic, as we've seen in cases involving South America, Central America, Africa, and so on, just 2 years ago already. So I think that this will lead to an increase in the cobalt price, which is good for the Congo. They will get more money for their cobalt. It will slow down cobalt production, which is also good, which means that the cobalt production will not be plundered in the manner in which African minerals usually is plundered. And then it will also cause some supply chain disruption globally, but which is not necessarily a bad thing for the African context. You know, so the profitability of private companies...
And maybe elaborate on that for us, Mr. van Wyk. Why would these disruptions or delays in the battery supply chain not be a bad thing for Africa?
Well, ultimately it creates a shortage in the supply chain. And that shortage means increased prices. And, you know, at the moment, Africa is not getting the value for its minerals, even though these minerals are incredibly important. And it's time for Africa to put its foot down to ensure that we get the value for our minerals, or alternatively, that we use the minerals for beneficiation within our countries. If you're producing 70% of the world's cobalt, 10% royalty is really nothing. It's peanuts. I think that the DRC can push the volume as far as the royalties and taxes are concerned on cobalt. But of course, they're afraid of doing so because they have been the target of destabilizing forces, including mining companies funding rebels and so on in the northeast of the country. Of course, cobalt comes from Katanga in the south, but Katanga also has its fair share of conflict between 2008 and the present. Before the privatization
I'd like to, Mr. Van Wyk, just touch on this a little bit. Yes, you mentioned the reasons why there might be levels of hesitancy in increasing the royalty. But are we likely to see the DRC expand similar tight regulatory regimes to other strategic minerals as well? And what might that imply for global resource markets in the long run?
Well, I think that the DRC produces most of the world's coltan. And coltan is in all computer systems and electronics, cell phones and so on, as is copper for that matter. And the copper price at the moment is going through the roof as well because of the wars and conflicts. The West and the countries who are at war with one another at the moment, the war in the Middle East, the war in Ukraine and so on, they're just basically wasting our minerals by shooting it away on the battlefield. We are losing an awful lot of global minerals, and the minerals are not infinite globally. We are going to get to a point where these minerals will be depleted, and the scramble for African minerals will increase as a consequence of that. And we've got to basically shut our borders and say, no, we're not going to allow the scramble for our minerals because we want to use our minerals for productive uses, not to shoot away on the battlefield.
Mr. David Van Wyk, I will leave it at that for this afternoon. Thank you very much. Mining analyst Mr. David Van Wyk there on the Democratic Republic of Congo, replacing its months-long export ban, with a quota system in October, introducing, amongst other things, a prepayment of 10% royalty within 48 hours and a compliance certificate for those who wish to mine. Takes us to exactly 4:30 p.m. Central African time. Let's head over now to the markets desk, where Bontle Hedbush is standing by with your latest market indicators.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thanks, Thami. Good afternoon. And our final look at the indicators this afternoon. $1 is trading at 16 Rand 92 in South Africa. In Botswana, it's trading at 13 Pula 15. Namibia, 16 Rand 92. And the Zambian kwacha is trading at 23 kwacha 1. In Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 75. Ethiopia, 154 birr 94. In Uganda, it's at 3,518 shilling. And in Tanzania, it's 2,449 shilling. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,449 naira this afternoon. In Egypt, it's trading at 47 Egyptian pound, 53 Tunisia at 2 dinar 93. In Algeria, it's trading at 129 dinar and 6. In Morocco, the dollar will cost you 9 dirham 22. In Angola, it's at 912 kwanza, while the Congolese franc is trading at 2,222 to the US dollar this afternoon. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $4,201 per ounce, platinum at $1,664 per ounce, while Brent crude oil is at $63.15 a barrel this afternoon. And that's the indicators. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or give us a call on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Bontle Hedbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And for the latest from the business of sport, here is Fikile Lengwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon, Thami. We kick off with football news. From Thursday, South Africans will be able to apply for tickets for next year's World Cup in North America. Bafana have been drawn in Group A and will face co-host Mexico in the tournament opener on the 1st of June 2026, exactly 16 years after the two countries met in the first game of the 2010 World Cup in Johannesburg. While the ticket lottery will start on Thursday, the first phase of ticket sales actually kicked off on the 10th of September, and 2 million tickets were snapped up. Some of these tickets have since ended up on resale platforms. Fans who want to attend the opener have to act quickly as they are fast running out. According to the StubHub portal, only 2% of tickets remain for the match, and you will need deep pockets. The cheapest ticket and the single ticket available for resale would set you back $4,000. That would get you a seat in the nosebleed section, the upper stands of Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. Category 2 tickets, also near the top of the stands, go for $6,000. Fortunately, FIFA's own official resale marketplace will open and reopen on the 15th of December. And still with football news, Manchester United have rejected an offer for Joshua Zirkzee, but have opened the door for his departure in January. Ex-United manager Erik ten Hag brought Zirkzee to Old Trafford in the summer of 2024 in a $49 million move from Bologna. Zirkzee reached double figures in his final season in Serie A, but did not have much of a back catalogue to suggest he was worth of a lucrative move to the Premier League. Co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe is said to have set strict negotiations for the upcoming transfer window, privately insisting there will be no freebies. Roma have expressed interest in signing Zirkzee despite his struggles in Manchester, and Italian outlet Corriere dello Sport claim the Serie A side are confident in striking a deal. United's asking price for Zirkzee is unclear, but reports last month claimed the Red Devils wanted around $41 million. And on to cricket news. The South African Revenue Services SARS has withdrawn its continuous claim against Proteas fast bowler Kagiso Rabada. According to an insider at the revenue collector, Rabada paid the full amount of $1 million. In the 2022 IPL mega action, Rabada was brought by Punjab Kings for $1.1 million. Rabada's salary increase and includes approximately $1.1 million for the 2025 IPL season after being brought by the Gujarat Titans. His salary varies based on his contract with different leagues and teams, as shown by his previous deals. The Formula One motor racing is the FIA is the F1's governing body. FIA says Williams has been fined $6,000 for an unsafe release with Alex Albon's car in FP3 at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Albon was released into the path of Esteban Ocon's Haas during the final hour of practice at Yas Marina on Saturday. Williams and Albon avoided a penalty on the occasion, with the stewards deciding against any further action in Qatar. The stewards have had a busy day on Saturday in Abu Dhabi, with various drivers and teams penalized ahead of qualifying. Aston Martin team was handed separate fines, $29,000 to $17,000 of each has been suspended after drivers Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll failed to appear at the fan event on Friday. Meanwhile, Red Bull was handed a $12,000 fine, with Yuki Tsunoda given a formal warning after an impending incident with McLaren driver Lando Norris in FP3. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Lungwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa in business on Channel Africa.
It has gone exactly 4:37 Central African time. We take you now to relations between South Africa and Australia. They certainly are deepening their tourism and trade ties with the launch of a new direct flight route between Johannesburg and Perth. Government officials say the increased seat capacity will support tourism growth, unlock new investment opportunities, and strengthen people-to-people links between the two regions. The announcement was made at a joint briefing hosted by Qantas, South African Tourism and the Gauteng Tourism Authority in Johannesburg. Channel Africa's Debohang Mabange has more.
South Africa says improved air connectivity remains one of the biggest levers to unlock tourism growth on the continent. Speaking at the event, South Africa's Minister of Tourism, Patricia de Lille, said the increased routes support the country's broader tourism strategy.
Increased air connectivity is fundamental to unlock tourism growth and investment. Today's announcement directly aligns with one of the 5 pillars of the Tourism Growth Partnership strategy and plan, and that's ease of access. This includes air routes, visas, and removing the hurdles that can make South Africa a destination of choice for business and leisure.
Delil added that South Africa's international flight capacity continues to grow, with long-haul and short-haul numbers showing steady recovery.
International capacity, seat capacity to South Africa now stands at 8.5 million. That's an increase of 9%, 9.1% compared to 2024. So strong supply growth in the second half of the year has also led to double-digit seat increase from June onwards. And of these seats, the 8.5 million, 4.6 million are long-haul routes, while 3.9 million service short-haul routes.
Australia has also highlighted the significance of affordability and availability of seats in rebuilding international travel demand. Australia's Minister for Trade and Tourism, Senator John Farrell, said both countries face similar challenges as long-haul destinations.
The two things that have been most important in rebuilding confidence in the tourism industry has been the price of the fares and the volume of seats. They've been the two impediments, and as the Minister and I discussed this morning, we are both long-haul destinations, so people have to psychologically be prepared to take a long trip if they want to come to South Africa or if they want to come to Australia. And the combination of the more availability, 155,000 new seats now available on this pathway.
Farrell also pointed to growing trade prospects between the two countries, saying a free trade agreement could further expand economic ties.
There are some countries in the world that are discouraging trade. Australia is not one of them. I didn't name anybody. Australia is pro free and fair trade, and I know South Africa is pro free and fair trade. And I've given the job to our High Commissioner of very quickly negotiating a free trade agreement so that we can build those connections. We've got this trade connection already, we've got the historical connections, we've got the people-to-people connection. Can you imagine all of the trade that we could do with these new flights with Qantas, bringing fresh Australian produce into Johannesburg?
The new Johannesburg-Perth route will operate year-round, with both governments saying improved connectivity helps position the two destinations for stronger tourism and trade recovery. Reporting for Channel Africa, I am Lebogang Mabange in Johannesburg, South Africa.
From markets to innovation. From markets to innovation. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni covers it all. With Africa's future in focus, Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It is now exactly 4:42 Central African Time. We turn our focus to this now. Al Baraka Islamic Bank. They are headquartered in the Kingdom of Bahrain and have launched a Sharia-compliant foreign currency account that empowers South Africans to transact globally with confidence, called Viver. The account will allow customers to hold and transact in 6 major international currencies, Al Baraka says. Viver represents a major milestone in the bank's strategic focus on digital convenience, customer centricity and Sharia-compliant banking innovation. For more on this, we joined on the line by Sumeshan Chetty, the General Manager for Information Technology at Al Baraka Bank. A very good afternoon to you. Good to have you with us on Africa in Business. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here.
Could you tell us more about Viver account and how it will redefine global banking for South Africans?
Sure. So the Viver account is a new launch, a new product offering by Al Baraka Bank. As you mentioned, we've got our head office that sits up in Bahrain. The head office for South Africa is here in KZN. And we're a small Islamic bank within the country, and we've launched a new multi-currency solution called the Viver multi-currency account. It's something called resident foreign currency account. So as the name says, it's an account, it's a foreign currency account meant for South African residents to make their travel and their spending overseas as easy as possible. It's different from a travel card in that you actually have the ability to open an account and store funds in that account in different currencies at your leisure. At any point in time. You don't necessarily have to have the travel restrictions in place where when you look at something like Forex notes, you can only purchase Forex notes 60 days before you travel, 30 days after you get back into the country, you need to return the currency type of thing. This account allows you to buy currency at your leisure when you need to, when it's best suited for you. So we've launched this product with 6 currencies in total, 3 of the majors, the US dollar, the euro, and the pound. I think there's a few offerings like that in the market. And we've analyzed the market and looked at additional currencies that sort of make sense to our market as such. The Saudi Riyal, as an Islamic bank within the country, a trip to Saudi Arabia is something that most Muslim South Africans will do at some stage in their life. And this will just make that process a lot easier. Turkey, because the Turkish lira, we've seen a lot of travel to Turkey is something that's very popular at the moment. And the dirham, obviously, with travel into the Middle East at the moment, it's very popular. It's one of those routes where it's hard to leave the country without going through the Middle East. And that's why the dirham has been added to that staple. So that's really what the product is about. The world is becoming a global place. South Africa's just a country that has the ability to go anywhere at this point in time. And the idea behind this product is to allow that ease of travel for clients into the future.
And now for our listeners who may not understand what Sharia compliance is about, could you highlight what aspects of this account make it Sharia compliant?
Sure. So as a bank, that's our fundamental role. Effectively, we look at Sharia compliance as a fundamental element to our banking products. It is quite a complicated question. There's a lot of technicality behind how Sharia compliant banking works. To a large extent, our treasury management only allows us to keep and hold funds within Sharia compliant investments and instruments. So what that means basically from an Islamic perspective is that when you put money into a bank like Al Baraka, we're governed by a Sharia board that looks at Sharia regulations and governs the way we actually place our funds in terms of excess liquidity management, where it's invested, and making sure that there isn't any non-Sharia compliant returns that's then granted on a product like this. So that's really a big factor for us. It's the fundamental of why we exist in the market at the moment in South Africa. As I mentioned, there are other products in the market that's similar at this point in time in terms of being a multi-currency account. But the Sharia compliant element for us is a big factor in that we, as a bank, would like to offer our clients an alternative, a Sharia compliant alternative to conventional options that's out there.
Now, you mentioned earlier on that the account does support multi-currency banking. Is this something that's likely to lead to more cross-border spending and foreign currency usage among South Africans specifically?
So we would like that to be the case. The manner in which the product is being built is to make it as easy as possible for clients to transact. In fact, if you do end up opening an account with us, a Bavia multi-currency account, you'll see our account numbers is the same as any other account number in the country. So if you want to do an EFT, you would go into a normal bank, into your normal EFT banking app. You would select Al Baraka as a bank. You would select the branch code 800,000, and your account number will start with 123 for Bavia. And we selected 123 very specifically because we want to make this product as easy as 123. And I believe that's one of the reasons why it may contribute to global spend, in that it's not necessarily just meant for your everyday traveler that's traveling at the moment. That's definitely a target market. But because the product is pitched at a level where it's cheap, it's affordable, and it's flexible, it actually allows even the aspirational traveler to now start keeping money in the account for a future trip that they may want. So it's not necessarily someone that says, okay, you know what, I travel every 6 months, so I need this account. That's definitely one of the key target markets that we've got. But in addition, if you know you want to plan a once-in-a-lifetime trip in 2 years' time, and in looking at that, you know, the exchange rate may move, you may be wanting to go to Turkey and experience, you know, the beaches in Turkey type of thing. And you can actually start saving that money in Turkish lira right now towards that once-in-a-lifetime trip. So effectively, that should hopefully encourage that spending and global aspirations for most South Africans.
Right. So, Mr. Chetty, who can apply for this account?
So anyone can apply for this account. It's as much as I've mentioned that we are a Sharia compliant bank, and I think maybe there is a misconception sometimes in the market that as Al Baraka, we're only here for the Islamic market. We're not. We are a full commercial bank. We're open to anyone banking with us. And I think anyone that would like to apply for an account like this is most welcome to do so. It's quite a simple digital online process. So you can visit welcome.albaraka.co.za. There's a digital onboarding process. You need your ID, a proof of address, and you need your tax number, South African tax number, and you'll go through the process completely digitally. We do have 6 branches around the country if anyone does need help in person, but we've built the system as seamlessly as possible such that you can actually do the entire application online, and it's meant for anyone and everyone at this point in time.
Mr. Sumesh Chetty, we thank you so much for your insight and your time this afternoon. Very much appreciated.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That's Mr. Sumesh Chetty. He's the General Manager for Information Technology at Al Baraka Bank.
Get the news, music, and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
It has gone exactly 4:50 Central African time. In about 10 minutes' time, we say au revoir to us, and we say bonjour to vous d'Afrique. We say au revoir to Africa in Business, and we say bonjour to vous d'Afrique.
I thought you were saying au revoir to me.
No, madame.
I know you know French. Bonjour, Thami.
Bonjour.
Bonjour à tous les auditeurs de Channel Africa. Sur Vue d'Afrique tout à l'heure, il sera question de la CEDEAO qui ordonne le déploiement immédiat d'éléments de sa force d'attente au Bénin, alors que le calme est de retour sur l'ensemble du territoire. Nous parlerons également du président ivoirien Alassane Ouattara qui a prêté serment ce lundi au palais présidentiel à Abidjan, mais aussi beaucoup d'autres titres, notamment en sport, dans la deuxième partie avec Julie Nosungu. Merci à tous d'être connectés. Merci, Thami.
Merci beaucoup. That's Vue d'Afrique coming up with Joël in just a moment. It's exactly 4:51.
Keep Africa in your hands. Connect to our website for all your news, sports, and cultural updates. channelafrica.co.za.
Madapiri bazoshitika.
inogeka zingeni chihana lumbiritsidwa kukhala wachiwiri kwa mtsogoleri wa dziko la Malawi pa mwambo omwe unachitika ku nyumba ya chifumu ya Sanjika mu mzinda wa Blantyre. Ndiye pano tili ndi olemekezeka a chihana. Takulandirani olemekezeka pano pa wireless ya Channel Africa pa Chinyanja Service. Malawi ayembekezere zotani kuchokera kwa inu ngati wachiwiri winanso kwa president wa dzikolo?
Choyamba ngati vice president umagwira ntchito yopatsidwa ndi president imene yakuganizira. Ndiye malowozi athu atipatsa bwinobwino, koma ntchito yathu yayikulu ndi kuwathandiza president kuti masomphenya awo yakwanitsidwe. Mbali zambiri zoti zichitike, nkhani ya njala mdziko muno, boma la udakali chimanga ndi china chomwe chili mdziko muno kuti tithandize families are affected. Chachiwiri kunali ma fuel shortages amene akanaliponso apo ndi apo, tionetsetse kuti pumps athu asakhale dry.
Zochitika pa nthawi ya 6 koloko kufikira 7 koloko madzulo. Lolemba mpaka lachisanu ndi Madapiri.
African Enterprise meets global opportunity. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
In this afternoon's FNB slot, we take a look at eBucks. First National Bank has introduced eBucks Home Rewards to celebrate one of its customers' greatest achievements, that is owning a home. This new feature is designed to make home ownership more rewarding, with meaningful recognition for customers who've chosen FNB as their trusted home loan partner. For more on this, we're joined on the line by Peter Woodhatch. A very good afternoon to you, Peter. Good to have you with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's really good to be here.
So from the 1st of this month, new property buyers who choose to accept and sign FNB's home loan offer, whether through navigating FNB or RMB private bank app or at any FNB branch, will qualify for eBucks Home Rewards. Talk to us about what eBucks Home Rewards are, how they differ from the current eBucks that exist, and why you saw it fit to introduce the system.
Yeah, thank you so much, and it's a great question. eBucks is a program I think a lot of people know and love, today. And we specifically sat down, with our home team and said, how do we differentiate a little bit in the market? And buying a home can be really intimidating, and it can be really hard for a lot of customers out there. And we wanted to make it special and, give clients peace of mind. And there's no better way to give customers peace of mind than to show them that you understand what they're going through when they're moving into a new house. I've recently moved into a new house, and from packing up your old house into making sure the new house is ready, moving in on the day, it can be quite stressful organizing a moving company as well. So I think peace of mind and creating an environment that's less intimidating by showing that, we understand you and we understand, the anxiety that you might be going through, and building a relationship from there. I think we're a bank and a rewards program that thrives on building long-term relationships with our customers. We believe that there's significant value, so we've given clients up to 30,000 Rand back, on their home buying experience, when they choose FNB to partner with. And I think it's working, with our customers in ways like this that really will make us and our customers thrive into the future.
I mean, apart from this great money back reward, which is like this up to 30,000 Rand back that you've just mentioned, in some of your works, you mention that the rewards range from welcome vouchers to milestone benefits. Can you talk us through how these practical incentives will help ease the stress of moving into a new home and make home ownership experience more enjoyable? I think you've actually gone through quite a few of them, but I wonder how some of your other ones and some of your other incentives actually add on to that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So when a client is buying a house from FNB, on the day that they move in, we realize it can be quite a stressful day, and who's looking after making food on the day, as well as is the home that I'm moving into has it been cleaned properly? Have we had time to do that? So on the day you move in, we will offer you a Sweep South voucher, or a Mr. Delivery voucher where you can organize some food or deliver some food for you and your family. And the Sweep South voucher so that you can actually have your house cleaned before you move in. And then we also offer you a significant voucher. So for Premier customers, 4,500, for private clients customers, 9,500, and for private wealth customers, 14,500 Rand voucher that you receive, that you can spend at Cielo, Le Creuset, as well as on Pick and Pay. The great thing for existing customers is that they can spend it at Pick and Pay, buy their groceries for the month, and get additional on top of that 30% back, on groceries that they buy. So that we think is a bit of a game changer for clients when they do move into a new home. And then we've got something that we call milestone rewards. And milestone rewards is just to reward the client for being with FNB, being loyal, and being in good standing. We pride ourselves that we're a behavior change program, and being in good standing is a big thing for us. So on your 3-year, 6-year, and 9-year anniversary, if you're private wealth, as an example, we will pay you, 3,000, 5,000, and 7,000 Rand, additional out to those customers.
So you've just mentioned the rewards for long-standing customers, but these new rewards for eBucks Home, can those be used in retrospect? Like, for example, if one is already an FNB home owner, and they're not necessarily buying a new home now, but can they also benefit from these rewards that new homeowners would benefit from?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, rewards, unfortunately, there are times when we have to start and kick things off. And so this will be available for all customers who take a home with FNB from 1 December. So that's eight days ago. So from 8 days ago, if you've taken a home with us, then these will apply.
Oh, well. Shame for us who have bonds that we took before the 1st of December. But as you say, for those who are, long-standing loyalists, you've got something for them too. Well, Peter Woodhatch, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Really exciting developments.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time to you and your listeners.
Thank you. That's Peter Wojciech on the eBucks Home rewards that have been introduced by FNB. So if you are buying a new home or you bought a new home and you bought it from the 1st of December, well, good for you because you're eligible for all of those amazing, amazing discounts. And talk about getting food delivery when you're home or making sure that the house is cleaned before you move in, and professionally so. Well, that's how we wrap up our time together this Monday afternoon. This has been Africa in Business on Channel Africa. From myself, Thami Ngubeni, and the entire team, give yourself a splendid afternoon further. And we say restez connectés as Vue d'Afrique comes up.
Mornings made better with Peter and Son on Rise and Shine. Weekdays, 6 till 9.
The South African